So children, let's begin with our next story from your Footprints Without Feet, The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. Now, a little about the author before we move to the summary. Henry René Albert Guy de Maupassant was a French writer, remembered as a master of the short story form and as a representative of the naturalist school of writers, who depicted human lives and destinies and social forces in disillusioned and often pessimistic terms. He wrote some 300 short stories, 6 novels and 3 travel books and 1 volume of verse. Now, talking about the summary of this chapter, The Necklace, it's a very interesting story, a very popular story, but then again, need to remember the spellings of the characters, because while attempting your short questions or your long questions, you've forgotten the spellings. Now, either there are 2 options with the children. Either they have this wrong spelling, they'll go around writing, or the other thing they do is they'll just add on she, they'll do it because the name has slipped out of their minds. Now, Matilda Loisel, spellings, right? Lived in an apartment with her husband, Mr. Loisel. Now, she was very unhappy. It seemed as if she was very pretty, and just by at the hands of destiny, she was born into a humble family and happened to get married to a clerk. She was very unhappy and unsatisfied with what life had given her. She was unhappy with the apartment's shabby walls and the worn out furniture. She was also irritated by the way her husband reacted to the homemade food, while she dreamt of royal dinners being served in exquisite silver dishes. She had to marry a clerk in the office of the Board of Education just because her family couldn't afford to give her dowry. She also hated visiting her old friend, Madame Jean Forestier, as she was a rich lady and Matilda envied her. Now, this whole thing comes under the character sketch of Matilda Loisel. What kind of life she led? Why was she unhappy? What circumstances made her so unhappy? So, she was unhappy, she was not satisfied, the apartment walls were very shabby, the furniture was worn out, and the way husband, although he tried to please her by appreciating the homemade food, but she dreamt of dinners, lavish dinners, exquisite silverware. That is what she always dreamt of. Why she had to marry? She had to marry a clerk in the office because her family couldn't afford to give her a dowry. She also hated visiting her old friend. Reason, because that friend of hers was a rich lady, whereas Matilda envied her. Why did she envy her? Because whenever she visited her, she became sad and cried for days together. Now, one day when her husband returned home from work, he got an invitation to a party at the house of Minister of Public Instruction. So he thought this invitation would please his wife. She would be happy to attend a party. Now, contrary to his expectations, he thought she would be happy, but this did not happen. This was contrary to his expectation. Matilda was irritated and angry and threw the card away. Why did she do it? She was upset because she didn't have anything to wear, nothing to wear, no good clothes to wear at such an extravagant party. Now then, her husband asked her as to how much would she need, and thinking that how much should she ask. So she said 400 francs. Her husband gave her 400 francs to buy a new dress. Now this money he had saved to buy a gun so that he could go hunting with his friends. But now that his wife has demanded for the money as she wanted to buy a dress, a new dress, so he he gave the money to her to buy a dress. Now after she's bought the dress, after buying the dress, she was again sad because now she wanted some jewelry to wear with that dress, which she did not have. Now she was sad because she did not have jewelry to make herself look more appealing, more attractive. So without the ornaments, the dress was incomplete. So in order to make herself more appealing and more attractive, she wanted jewelry. Now her husband gave her a suggestion. He suggested that she could borrow jewelry from her friend Madame Forestier. So Madame Loisel went to her friend's house and told her the whole situation, described the situation. She showed her the cupboard, her friend showed her the cupboard, and asked her to choose whatever she liked. Matilda chose a precious diamond necklace. So for that party, she wanted to wear a diamond necklace. So she borrowed it from her friend, Madame Forestier. Now that was kept in a black satin box. They went to the minister's party. All the men admired her because she was so elegant, she looked so beautiful, and now with that dress, the dress she was wearing and the jewelry on top of that, so she was very graceful and very elegant. She enjoyed herself. All the men admired her as she was looking gorgeous in her new dress and jewelry. They returned at 4 in the morning. They decided to leave and couldn't find a carriage. It was 4 in the morning and they were looking for a carriage. Finally, after walking for a while, they got a carriage which dropped them right outside their door. Now when they returned home and Matilda realized that she did not have the necklace around her neck, Madame Loisel went out to search the railway tracks for the necklace. So her husband, he said, I'll just go see the track where they had walked. He goes out there, checks it out, but they are unable to find the necklace. Then, next step that they took was, Mr. Loisel went to the police station, cab offices, and also gave an advertisement for reward to the person who returned the necklace. Meanwhile, he told his wife to tell her friend that the clasp of the necklace had broken. No? Because the party is over, you must return the borrowed jewelry to the friend now. But now it was lost. So, he suggested that tell your friend that the clasp of the necklace has broken, which needs to be repaired. After a week, when the necklace could not be found, they decided to replace it. When you lose somebody's belonging, it is your duty to replace it. So they wanted to replace it with a similar one. They found a similar necklace priced at 36,000 francs, a huge amount for them to pay. Fortunately, Mr. Loisel had inherited 18,000 francs from his father. Rest he borrowed, and borrowing from whatever source, whatever interests he could get. So he borrowed the amount in order to purchase the necklace that could be replaced with Madame Forrester's necklace. It took them 10 years to repay all the loans. It's a huge amount. And when you borrow it, you got to repay it. You have to repay it with the interest. So it took them 10 long years to repay all the loans, and in these years, in this long period, their lives had changed drastically because they had overworked themselves. They moved to a smaller apartment. See what all changes had to do. What all changes had come into their lives. They had to move to a smaller apartment, removed the maid, Matilda cooked the food and washed the clothes herself. Even Mr. Loisel worked multiple to repay the borrowed money. In these years, Madame Loisel started looking very old. Her hair badly, when you overwork yourself and you're not focusing on yourself, your health tends to deteriorate. You start looking aged. So with her hair badly dressed, her voice became loud, and she became a formal person who would carry a basket to the grocery store, the butcher store, and the fruit store to buy their daily supplies. So this is how her life had reduced to such an extent that all those jobs, all those household chores, she had to do them herself. One day she met her friend Jean with a child and decided to tell her the truth, and explained how she was indirectly responsible for her aged looks and her living conditions. See, once the loan had been paid, everything had been cleared. So one day while she was crossing and she addressed her friend, Madame Forrester, she could not recognize. And then Matilda went and introduced herself. She said, "What's wrong with you? What has happened to you?" And then Matilda felt that yes, now I can disclose to her as to what has happened. How they have literally tortured themselves for these 10 years in order to repay the loans. Now she explained how she lost the borrowed necklace and had to take a loan for replacing it. On hearing this, Jean told Matilda that the necklace that she had borrowed was an artificial one and was not worth more than 500 francs. And what had these people done? That had costed them 36,000 francs. And what all they had to give up? The money that they had to borrow, the health that they sacrificed through this process, all was very taxing for both of them. But look at the end. It was an artificial necklace and costed only 500 francs. Now, the story is certainly quite an interesting story, and the summary tells you in detail, makes you see, summary is always better. When you know your summary, then when you read the chapter, you enjoy it more. Then there are other options also. Sometimes without knowing the summary, you would like to go for the chapter so that the curiosity remains till the end, whichever way is comfortable to you. But then go through your lesson in detail, and then Maxx marks is there with your question answers, all in detail, which need to be practiced properly and sincerely. Right? Thank you.